does Tennessee have the next Dalton Knecht? Because it was about this time a year ago where some guy named Dalton Knecht, who we talked about as being a very good transfer, turned out to be an incredible transfer. Do they have the next Dalton Knecht?
So Tennessee added, for those who don't know, they added Hofstra Pride basketball guard who was more of a wing, Darlinstone Dubar, who was second team All CAA, by the way, just like Dalton Knecht last year was second team All Conference at his lower level, is a scorer from the wing at 6'6", just like Dalton Knecht was last year, and has been a 4-year player and is very experienced and is now going to play for Rick Barnes. This guy averaged almost 18 points a game, just under 7 rebounds, 1.5 assists, nearly a block, a steal a game. Here's the crucial part. He shot 40% from 3 on the year and hit just over 2 threes a game. And he's reliably good from the free throw line at 73%. So he's a reliable scorer. He is a reliable, really good scorer, exactly in every single way what Dalton Knecht was last year when he transferred to Tennessee from a lower level. I told you this, Dave, that Tennessee in the Rick Barnes era was going to get these guys.
I don't want to be Captain Wet Blanket, but Dalton Knecht was the biggest impact transfer in all of college athletics last year. Yes, I'm referring to Bo Nix as well. To get him again, it's a 1 in a decade shot or a 1 in a generation shot. You're putting too much on him, Caleb.
Dalton Knecht is not like Nico Iamaleava as a player. He's a little more a dime a dozen than you realize. And I'm dead serious about this.
Well, the dime a dozen, he's going to go top 10 in the NBA draft according to the prognostications I saw. That's like about $20 billion a dozen.
Dalton Knecht he's going so high. He's the first of what's about to be a trend, but he was just the first.
I actually agree with you on this part, so I'm not even going to try to argue with you.
Yes, I mean,
I think you're going to see a renaissance of college basketball.
Yes, exactly. Because let's be honest. Do you not think Darlinstone Dubar saw Dalton Knecht and was like, "Oh, what could Rick Barnes do with me?" And that's why he transferred. Yes, because it's the exact same thing. He's going to transfer to Tennessee because he wants to develop and focus on his defense. And if he has Knecht's mentality, and usually, and I think you would agree with me on this, right? These type of players, 4-year guys, they have that type of mentality, right? They want to be coached and developed when they're in college.
Yeah, and I thought it was the maturity that Kelly Washington had, that people hated Kelly Washington. If you go back and look at him, at Tennessee's former receiver who came from the minor leagues, yeah, they're typically in their early 20s as compared to late teenagers, which we know there can be a lot of development. And you know what, typically also, I'm going to call this the McAllen Castles effect, Caleb, what can affect these guys and turn them into positive impacts on not only your culture, but your team's on-field success, is he saw what he had. I think I may have mentioned this to you before, but they would get together and make pasta like on weekday nights because there's no cafeteria open. And he gets to Tennessee and there's a 24/7 cafeteria. There's a place to get your hair cut. There's a place to go out and do this, a place to do whatever. And I think he showed up on campus. And if he had any doubt as to what college football could do for him, I think that erased any doubt as soon as he walked on campus.
Oh, you're probably right. You're probably right. Now, I wonder if, like, sometimes if things are so nice that you're like, you get swept up and you're like, you just can't help but enjoy everything around you and not take football as seriously.
I think that can happen with an 18-year-old, which maybe I failed to make my point. I think that can happen with an 18-year-old. I think a 22-year-old that sees that and like, whoa, if football can bring me this, or basketball in this case, can bring me this, and it could just get better, I don't think you're likely to lose a 21 or 22-year-old.
No, yeah, that makes sense. I agree, particularly when their years are running out and they realize
and chicks, which is what we're talking about, right? That's what you lose. That's what you lose an 18-year-old. Most oftentimes, it's getting spoiled by their fans and or the ladies.
Well, and exactly, and let's take it from football to just. Dave, you and I were journalism majors, but who cares what your major is? When you're 18 years old and in college, you're just partying. You're like, I'm in college, woo! And then 21 hits and you're like, oh my career is about to start. I really need to like buckle down and like get this taken care of. And you start studying harder. Probably is the same for athletes, right? When they realize the draft is coming up, they're like, oh, this is happening. I need to like really get myself together if I'm going to get drafted.
And I want to be real clear. I love everything you've said about the way Rick Barnes is poised to do this. It's kind of changed my thinking from how long will he continue to coach and Tennessee has to tolerate short tournament runs to how much longer will he coach so that they can make a deep tournament run with a group of guys. What happens? Let me ask you this, Caleb. If along the lines of your thinking, Rick Barnes is so open-minded and he's so willing to change that he says, I'm going to put even more on this transfer portal thing. I'm going to take 2 or 3 guys that would have a major impact instead of one guy. Because with the players he has leaving, he might have to this year. Is he equipped to do that?
Yes. I've said this for a while. He is the, like what Kentucky fans said John Calipari is with one and dones, Rick Barnes could be with transfer one and dones, which are different than from one and done freshmen. One and done 18-year-olds are totally different from one and done 21-year-olds. As you know, they are one and done 21-year-olds. You can throw a team together of one and done 21-year-olds, and they'll be so about it. A great example, because Dave, remember you're a Celtics fan when the Celtics got KG and Paul Pierce, KG and Ray Allen, and everybody thought, oh, they'll need a year to develop chemistry. No, they won't. They were all in their mid 30s. As you get older, it becomes very much easier to pick up chemistry quickly. And I mean, Ray Allen, more than any of them, willingly sacrificed his role to play in Boston and get a ring. And I think you see that in college too, with transfers and one and dones like that.
No, I agree as well. And I think these players want to play. I mean, if you saw what Tennessee did with Dalton Knecht last year and you're not at least impressed, I don't know what to tell you. And if you haven't spoken to Dalton Knecht and you're considering transferring to Tennessee, I don't know what to tell you either. I thought about writing Recruiting for Dummies, that series of books, because yes, I could offer so many tips. If you're a young lad who is set to be born here in June, turns out to be a highly rated prospect, I can take care of you. We'll have the coaches running. They won't have us running. Trust me, you're good there.
I mean, I totally get it. It's well,
you don't have to tell somebody if a school offered you a scholarship or not, do you? Anyway, that would be chapter 4.
So in all, like we'll see if Dalton Knecht was a dime a dozen, or if this is going to be a trend. I think it's going to be a trend because Darlinstone Dubar is the exact same type of player profile. Now, again, I think everything about Dalton Knecht's success was his talent, but then his mentality as an older guy going to play for Rick Barnes. And you know this, Dave. Before this era, a guy like Dalton Knecht would have never had a shot at the higher level. He'd have been stuck at Northern Colorado or whatever and graduated and then gone to work in business somewhere. But nowadays,
I wonder if he'd actually, what was the college you went to before Northern Colorado, the junior college?
That's a good question.
I wonder if he would have got out of there without a transfer portal. I mean, maybe he would have, but you're right.
Yeah.
He could have easily gotten lost in the shuffle.
And that's the thing. That's what's so great about the transfer portal is actually your more great players at lower levels are getting noticed who never would have been noticed before by higher programs. And they're now able to prove themselves.
So let me ask you this, like Nick Saban got a discount for a different reason. Does Rick Barnes get a discount for transfers?
For a transfer wing like Dalton Knecht, he is now because of what he just did with Dalton Knecht. Because here's the truth of the matter. The discount's a big deal in basketball because, guys, I don't know if y'all know the difference between NBA money and NFL money, but it's leaps and bounds. You take the discount for college basketball if NBA money's on the table because that NBA money is so generational.
Right. Dalton Knecht, what he did the same thing that I did in journalism, where I said 2 years, this is going to be my graduate assistant, and I don't care what I make. And I was basically a grad assistant, didn't make anything. And that's what he did. He said, I don't care about the NIL money. And all that's true. And I know he did a lot of autograph signings that he didn't even ask to get paid for. So he wasn't worried. The money was the last thing on his mind, Caleb. His thoughts were, if I work hard, if I produce a top NBA talent, the money will be there. And he's about to be right.
Yeah. And I mean, all top 10 picks walk home with at least $13 million of wealth. That's the least amount they walk home with.
Now, the flip side, and where this will make your argument even stronger, is you do not get a guaranteed contract if you are outside the first round of the NBA draft. So let's just say Dalton Knecht was a borderline, or Grant Williams was a borderline first round pick, right?
Right.
Okay.
Mid-level, mid-tier.
Right. So if you can go to Grant Williams and you can offer him $750,000 to stay another year, you might get him to stay. I mean, that's a possibility.
That is true. Now, here's a good question, because I have to give credit to college basketball for this, because I thought it was very unfair that, and I think college football is finally doing this too, where it was very unfair that if you declared for the draft and didn't get drafted, you couldn't come back to college. I just thought that was totally unfair to players and making decisions for their futures. But I would say, what if you go to the draft and you get drafted in the second round? Can you come back to college then, or do you still have to stay drafted at that point?
Wow. I do not want to be wrong on that. Can you look that up and double check? Because I don't want to be wrong. I think that you can just go. Well, if you haven't signed with an agent, I think you can just go back to college. But chances are you've signed with an agent. So
no, you can go back to college now if you signed with an agent, though. It's
well, how about the NBA and this would help Tennessee and college basketball sit down on the table and say, listen, if you draft a player, you have the rights to him for 2 or 3 years instead of just 1, so that somebody could go through the draft, realize they're going to the Grizzlies or whoever they're going to, and then go better their game at the collegiate level.
That's what it was with Larry Bird, right? Didn't the Celtics draft the rights to Larry Bird and he still played college?
You said that before. I don't know that that's right. But
I got it wrong. No, the NBA. Okay, you can participate. You can declare for the draft and go through all the processes, and then all the scouts will come tell you where you'd be drafted. But you have to, if you want to go back to college, you have to withdraw before the draft even starts.
Right.